What do you do after 239 days away from basketball? If you're Caitlin Clark, you break the all-time FIA assist record for any debut, men or women, any country, in your very first 19 minutes on the floor, and then you keep going. By the end of 7 days in Puerto Rico, she had broken 14 FIA world records, won tournament MVP, and become the youngest player in FIA qualifying history to ever take home that award. By the time this tournament was over, she hadn't just returned from injury. She had rewritten the history books in a way nobody in the sport, men or women, had ever done before. If you're excited for Caitlin's return to Team USA and the Indiana Fever, then comment CC World Record Breaker down below. Evan, just under a minute and a half left to go in the first. Millings up to Clark. Clark takes her first shot, and it's a 3, and it is good. That is Caitlin Clark's first bucket. Look, dude, she's the singular offensive engine talent in the history of the sport on the women's side of the game. And when you take it to the men's side, I always say it all the time. Her vision and playmaking is on par with anyone I've ever seen. Picture this. Caitlin Clark is sitting on the bench in Puerto Rico, not as a starter, as a reserve. The crowd is already buzzing, and she hasn't even checked in yet. It's been 239 days since she last played competitive basketball. Let's talk about what 239 days actually means for an athlete. That's not a long weekend. That's not a few weeks of rest. That's almost the entire WNBA season, plus the off-season stacked on top of each other. That's enough time for your rhythm to go completely cold, for defenders to forget your tendencies, and then re-study you from scratch, for the game to just move on without you. Most players come back from that kind of layoff looking like they need another month just to find their footing. I mean, I've always been a person that's going to just rely on my work. Like, I feel like it's certainly made me work harder, but that's also probably the part that kind of stunk about it, is I felt like I put in so much time and so much energy going into last season, and then obviously I only appeared in about 13 games, and some of those probably wasn't as healthy as I probably should have been. So I think just relying on that. I think for me, like, obviously I didn't have, like, it's not like I, hurt my knee, or, wasn't like tore my Achilles or something like that. Obviously, knock on wood. It was kind of these nagging injuries that continued to build up and dealt with one on top of the other. And the narrative going into this tournament was cautious. Her coaches treated her return like something to be managed carefully. Clark came off the bench, not starting, not handed the keys, just eased in slowly, like they weren't sure what they were going to get. Clark herself wasn't cautious at all before she ever touched the floor in Puerto Rico. She said, "I thought I was going to be anxious, but I was just excited." That's it. She talked about how there's nothing like getting to run around out there and having fun. That's not someone dreading a comeback. That's someone who had the game taken away for 8 months and just desperately wanted to play again. The first feeling going to be like, suiting up for the senior national team. Oh, it's going to be amazing. Like, as a kid, this is what you grow up watching. So obviously I've watched a lot of really great players, and now I think it's kind of like going to be a pinch me moment. Like, this is kind of what you dream of, and obviously as being somebody that's played for 3 junior national teams, not many kids that had that opportunity get this opportunity. So just super grateful. The moment she checked in against Segal, something shifted. The pace changed. The ball started moving differently. Her teammates began finding spots they hadn't been getting to in the first few minutes of the game. And then the numbers started coming in. Clark played 19 minutes. 19. In those 19 minutes, she posted 17 points and 12 assists with 0 turnovers in the first half. She shot 4 of 5 from 3 and went a perfect 5 of 5 from the free throw line. That's not someone shaking off 8 months of rust. That's someone who had been locked in mentally the entire time she was away, just waiting for the Moment to get back out there. Caitlin is the most unique driver of offense I have ever seen in the women's game. And the core of that is ball in hand, right? Because of the way she manipulates defense, because of the way she creates pace, because of her get ahead passes, because of the threat she is with, off the dribble pick and roll game. Like so it is for me. The center of the Fever offense always has to be ball and hands for Caitlin. After the game, she said more than anything, it makes me happy that I'm super sweaty right now and I got to play basketball. That's real. That's not a PR answer. That's someone who genuinely loves the game and felt it get ripped away. The coaching staff said they were, in fact, finding mode. Their words. And while they were busy finding facts, Clark was already in execution mode. No warm-up period, no adjustment phase. Just Clark doing Clark things. Immediately, the Russ narrative died in. The first quarter of her first game back, and what replaced it were 7 international basketball records set in the same 19 minutes. You just remind myself who I am and what I've been, and I didn't lose that. So, just continue to do that. Game 1, Puerto Rico. Clark comes off the bench. She's been away for 239 days. And in the time it takes to watch a single episode of your favorite show, she breaks 7 international basketball records. Let's talk about the first one. Most assists ever recorded in a Team USA senior national team debut. Men or women. Not just women's basketball. Men too. Every player who ever suited up for the United States senior national team for the very first time. Clark walks off the bench and doubles whatever that previous record was in 19 minutes. 5 players at a time. Hockey subs. Kelsey Plum with her first. Caitlin Clark on the move over to Billings. Billings on the left-hand side. Off the glass. And how dangerous is this? But that's not all, because it wasn't just a Team USA record. Her 12 assists were the most ever recorded by any player making their senior national team debut for any country in FIBA competition. Any country, any era, men included. So, we're talking about every nation that has ever competed under FIBA. And no player in their debut game had ever done what Clark did on that Tuesday night in Puerto Rico. And remember, she's doing all of this coming off the bench. The coaching staff is rotating, carefully managing her minutes, and Clark is just quietly, methodically erasing records that had been sitting in the books for years. Here's Clark once again. She's got 8 points. She wanted to pull up for 3, but going to share it with Ryan Howard, who puts up a 3, and that's her second of the game. Give her. Comes off the screen from kicks it over to Clark. Clark behind the back. Crossover finds Ryan Howard. Howard for 3. And we said it, the connection between Caitlin Clark and Ryan Howard. Record 3. Her 12 assists were the second highest single game assist total in the entire history of FIBA qualifying tournaments across all games, all tournaments, all countries. Second all time in her debut off the bench after 239 days away. Record 4. Most assists by any player coming off the bench in FIBA history. Men or women. Not just qualifying tournaments, all of FIBA. Bench players don't put up numbers like this. Clark did it in her first 19 minutes back. Is looking to share the ball. Comes off the screen. A nice pass into Copper. Copper up and under. And what a finish for Copper. And was set up by point guard. Record 5 is the one that really gets me. In the first half alone, she had 8 assists with 0 turnovers. 8-0. That's the highest first half assist total in any FIBA qualifying game ever played. And she didn't give the ball away once. Most point guards never reach that level of decision-making in their prime. Clark did it in her first half back from an 8-month injury layoff, then records 6 and 7 come together. She posted the fastest double-double in a Team USA debut. And more than that, she's the only player in history, men or women, any country to record a double-double in their very first senior national team debut game. It had literally never happened before anywhere. Being patient, find the right shot. Caitlin Clark's got the ball over to Beckers. Beckers sets up the three, and it's nothing. So, let's just sit with that for a second. 7 records, 19 minutes coming. Off the bench after 239 days away from competitive basketball. And that's just game 1 of 5. The records didn't stop with Segal. They kept stacking up, game by game, night by night. But before we get there, let's talk about what her coaches decided to do with all of this. So, Clark breaks 7 records in her debut, and then she gets benched for 4 of the 5 games. Let's talk about that, because the numbers that came out of those 4 games make the decision look genuinely puzzling. I thought Puerto Rico played very, very hard, and they played hard the entire time. They challenged us with their effort, and I thought they made a lot of hustle plays to create baskets for themselves, and this was more of an uneven game for us on both ends. We talked about it as a team, and I thought we had some good spots, but I also thought we had some rough spots, and that's good. It's good to have rough spots sometimes. You're able to kind of figure some things out, and we're still figuring things out. The coaching philosophy going in was about spreading the load. Everybody shining, no single star, rotation first. After Clark's 7-record debut, the talk was that the starting lineup and rotation were going to change. That sounds like Clark was about to get more run. She wasn't. She stayed on the bench. The best part, while Clark was coming off the bench, she led Team USA in points, assists, plus minus, and efficiency across the entire tournament. And not just Team USA, she led the entire qualifying field. Every country, every player from the bench. 13. Floor. Game 3 against Italy is where record number 8 landed. Clark played 22 minutes off the bench and posted 12 points and 5 assists. Her plus minus was plus 27. That plus 27 wasn't just the best number on Team USA that night. It was the highest plus minus by any player across every single country in the entire 2026 FIBA qualifying tournament. Every team, every game, every player, Clark coming off the bench, put up a number nobody else in the whole tournament could touch. The Italy game was also when assistant coach Nate Tibbett started adjusting things. He moved Clark into the starting 5, built a 3-guard lineup around her and Paige Beckers, and let the offense actually run through Clark's playmaking. Team USA won by 34 points. What did you see from the lineup with Kelsey Plum, Kay Clark, Paige Beckers, Reinhardt, and Angel Reese? And how did that group impact the flow of the game? Yeah, I thought they did a really good job. This is a group that hasn't been along or been together very long. We kind of mixed the matchups, mixed the rotations. We played our players a little bit longer stretches than what we had done in the first 2 games. And so I thought initially they got off to a good start. I probably played them a little bit too long of a stretch at it. Some of them got a little bit tired, but yeah, I love the creativity. I love the shooting with that group. And the difference was obvious when Clark started and the ball moved through her. Team USA looked like a completely different team. Faster, more fluid, harder to guard. The 3-guard lineup with Clark, Beckers, and Kelsey Plum created spacing that defenses just couldn't figure out. Ball movement was constant. Scoring chances kept multiplying. Tibbetts later acknowledged that the earlier approach hadn't been the right call, that running a pace and space system built around Clark was clearly the way to go. That's a big admission, and it means something important. The records Clark broke while coming off the bench happened despite the system she was playing in, not because of it. She was outperforming the structure around her. Brings it up against Freya. Clark off of her screen, side deep free. And there's Think about what that actually looks like in numbers. Clark led Team USA in minutes, assists, plus minus, efficiency, and free throws across the full tournament, all 5 categories, while spending most of the tournament coming off the bench. That's not a player being carefully managed. That's a player who was better than the role she was given. Once Tibbetts fully committed to the Clark-Beckers backcourt, Team USA had already won every game. But the wins got bigger and easier. The system finally caught up to what Clark had already been doing on her own the whole time. 7 records in the Segal debut was just the opening act. By the time this whole thing was over, Clark had broken 14 FIA world records in 7 days. And honestly, the ones that came after Segal might be even bigger than the ones she set on night 1. Game 4 against New Zealand is where record 9 landed. Chelsea Gray had held the all-time tournament assist record with 22 assists across a full qualifying tournament. That was the benchmark, the number everyone pointed to when talking about elite playmaking at the international level. Clark passed it during the New Zealand game. She didn't sneak past it either. She ended the tournament with 32 total assists. That's a 45% improvement over the previous all-time mark. And she did it coming off the bench in 4 of the 5 games. Give me your first impression of the game. I thought it was good. I thought we started off a little slow. I thought our second unit came in. It was really good. And then I thought overall in the second half we were pretty good. You want to start again? Great start by New Zealand. Caitlin Clark tries again. This time it's good. Then comes the Spain finale, and this is where things shift from statistical to flat-out historical. Clark was named tournament MVP. But let's talk about what that actually means, because it's not just a nice trophy. Record 10. She became the youngest player in FIA qualifying tournament history to win MVP. Youngest ever. Full stop. MVP of the tournament is none other than Miss Caitlin Clark. It's undeniable the impact she's made on women's basketball, and here in Puerto Rico had quite the showing. Her debut with the senior team, the double-double with both points and assists. And in her senior debut, she wins MVP at the FIBA Women's Basketball World Cup qualifying tournament here in Puerto Rico. Record 11, first MVP by any player, making their senior national team debut for Team USA. In the entire history of USA Basketball's senior national team program, nobody had ever won tournament MVP in the same tournament as their debut. Clark did it in her first 7 days wearing that jersey. Record 12 goes even wider. First MVP by any player, making their senior national team debut across all countries, not just Team USA. Every country competing under FIA going back as far as these records exist. Nobody had ever gone from debut to MVP in the same tournament. Clark did it. She's the best. She's not just a legend, but a great person. Record 13 is the one that really puts everything in perspective. First MVP by any player who spent most of the tournament coming off the bench. MVPs come from starters, from players logging big minutes in prominent roles. Clark won it while being used as a reserve in 4 out of 5 games. Think about that. 4 out of 5. And then there's record 14. And this one isn't a basketball stat at all. The tournament set a TV viewership record for any FIA qualifying event ever held. The largest audience ever assembled for this type of competition tuned in to watch Clark's return. That's not a box score number. That's a cultural moment. And it tells you exactly where women's basketball sits right now. She absolutely slaughtered the unrivaled ratings. I mean, put them to complete shame. That, it's not her, it's everybody thing is completely done. Okay, so here's the full picture. 14 records, 7 days, 5 games for games coming off the bench. 239 days away from basketball, a plus minus a plus 80 across the whole tournament, an efficiency rating of 14.6, 6 that led every single player in the qualifying field and a tournament MVP, award that had never gone to a younger player, a debutante or a bench player, ever until now. What Clark did in Puerto Rico wasn't just a comeback. It was a proof of concept for something much bigger, and the people paying closest attention are already thinking about what it means for 2026 and beyond. Let's talk about the Clark-Beckers backcourt. First, because that's the most immediate takeaway from this whole tournament. When Tibbetts put them together in a three-guard lineup with Kelsey Plum team, USA became genuinely hard to guard. Clark reading defenses and finding Beckers off screens. Beckers scoring 12 points against Italy and a team leading 16 against Puerto Rico. The two of them moving the ball so fast that defenses couldn't rotate in time. It's a system that punishes slow closeouts and rewards quick decisions. And that's exactly what Clark does better than almost anyone on the planet right now. The first half, USA up big 49-8. Caitlin Clark, no one steps up, drives, kicks it to Becker. Here's where it gets interesting for Indiana Fever fans. Clark just spent 7 days proving that a pace and space offense built around her playmaking works against elite international competition, not in practice, not in a scrimmage, in a real tournament against real defenses. The Fever's 2026 season now has a very clear blueprint. Push the pace, move the ball, let Clark make reads, and build spacing around her vision. This tournament was basically a live demonstration of what Indiana can look like when the system actually fits around her. And then you zoom out to 2028 and the picture gets even bigger. Clark is the youngest MVP in FIA qualifying history. She's 24 years old right now. By the time the 2028 Olympics come around, she'll have 2 more full WNBA seasons under her belt, a World Cup run, and this qualifying tournament as her foundation. The question of who leads Team USA into the next Olympic cycle isn't really a question anymore. That answer is already out there. Wearing number 22, or in the case of Team USA, wearing number 12. I think that was probably almost you. No, play with my mind even more than like knowing I was going to be out for a set period of time. I was like always trying to come back, always trying to come back, and then I'd get hurt in another way. And then, finally, obviously shutting it down. I've had a good, 6 months or maybe more. And I think the first USA basketball camp was a great checkpoint for me. And I felt really great. Honestly, I was impressed with how with it I felt like sometimes I felt like it maybe would take me a day or two to really get my first step back, but I felt like myself out there. The viewership record ties all of this together. The largest audience ever assembled for a FIA qualifying tournament tuned in to watch Clark's return. And here's the thing about that. It's not just good for Clark, it's good for every single player in women's basketball, because it means the ceiling for this sports audience is higher than anyone had actually measured before. Clark draws people in, and once they're watching, they see Paige Beckers putting up 16 points and playing with that kind of energy. They see Kelsey Plum. They see the full depth of what this roster can do. They see women's basketball running at full speed, and a lot of them are going to stick around for that. Of 14 records, a tournament a TV viewership record, a backcourt pairing that looks genuinely unguardable when it's clicking, and a player who came back from 239 days away and in 7 days reminded the entire sports world exactly why they fell in love with this game. If you're a Clark fan, a Fever fan, or just someone who loves good basketball, this tournament was yours. Keep the receipts. Next time someone says she hasn't proven anything internationally, you've got 14 records that say otherwise. If you're excited for Caitlin's return to Team USA and the Indiana Fever, then Comment CC World Record Breaker down below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next.